Blog Talk Radio.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Joe Longinusa, welcoming you to another edition of Next on the Tee with Chris Mascaro, the show where industry leaders, golf professionals, and legends all come and discuss the great game we love so much. So without further ado, let's turn it over to our host to tell us who's next on the tee. Chris, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Joe LaGenusa. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining me again this morning on Next on the Tee. Today, I have the privilege of having with me three-time major winner on the regular tour, three-time major winner on the Champions Tour, and winner of 25 total events, and a gentleman who has done more for corporate golf than anyone ever, and that's Mr. Dave Stockton. We'll talk about his major victories, what it takes to win a major on both tours. Plus, I'm going to pick his brain a bit to help us all sharpen our minds. So much of the game is actually played between our ears. So he's got some great advice for us for how to deal with that sort of thing, deal with the pressure of playing the game of golf, plus also, how we can sharpen our minds to get some more enjoyment out of the game of golf. And Mr. Stockton is going to join me here in just a few moments. But before we get started, I want to remind you about our sponsor, Custom Golf Bags USA. Custom Golf Bags USA is the ideal choice for corporates and individuals wanting to customize their logo on high-quality golf gear. Their founder, Travis McLean, has taken his love for golf to new levels for all golf lovers around the world. They understand that everyone wants to dress like a golf professional, play like a golf professional, and now with Custom Golf Bags USA, you can have a golf bag like a golf professional. At Custom Golf Bags USA, they design their golf bags with the individuality of the customer in mind. They offer the best in quality and innovation by utilizing the most cutting-edge production technologies and expert workers to ensure that your bag is going to be at the top of its class. Custom Golf Bags USA knows that top-quality custom golf bags are more than just fancy embroidery and needlework. It's the effective blend of high-standard materials, superior design, and top-notch customer service. Everything from the interior structure of the bags to the outer panels is created with the utmost care and attention to detail. Why not let your clients walk the fairways promoting your company's brand, and Custom Golf Bags USA can customize a golf bag that will make you a legacy, something that your customers will never forget. It's your game, your way. For more information, check out their Facebook page, Custom Golf Bags USA, and give those guys a like. That's important to them, too. All right, I want to kick off the show like we do every week here on Next on the Tee by saluting the brave men and women serving in our military. We want to thank you for your daily sacrifices and all you do to keep the rest of us safe. We also want to thank those of you who serve or have served in every branch of the military and public service. We truly appreciate what you do to preserve our freedoms and our liberties. It's through your strength and your efforts that our way of life is even possible. Our sincere thanks as well to Sean Cruz and all the wonderful folks over at the Armed Forces Radio Network. It's an honor for us to have our show be a part of your network. You can find our show by going to armedforcesradionetwork.org. And we also want to thank everyone listening in on iHeartRadio, as well as great radio sites across the internet like Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn, iTunes, Player.fm, and Blog Talk Radio as well. Plus, if you have someone dragging you to the mall or to the grocery store, you're just tired of the same old on your commute, download the Player.fm or Stitcher app on your smartphone, and you can take us with you everywhere you go. Let us give you something fun to focus on while you're out and about. All right, now back with me on the Custom Golf Bags USA guest line is Mr. Dave Stockton. Let me remind you about what should be a Hall of Fame career. He's from San Bernardino, California. Attended the University of Southern California and earned his bachelor's degree in general management. 1964, he won the Pac-10 men's golf individual title and was an All-American. And later that year, he turned pro. His first PGA Tour victory came in 1967 at the Colonial National Invitational. In all, he had 25 wins on tour, 11 on the PGA Tour, including the 1970 and 1976 PGA Championships, and 14 wins on the Champions Tour, including 3 majors on that side as well, the 1992 and 1994 Senior Players Championship and the 1996 U.S. Senior Open. He teamed with his son Dave Stockton Jr. to win the Champions Challenge in 2000 and in 2008, and played on 2 victorious Ryder Cup teams in 70 and 71, and he captained the victorious 1991 team. And he is widely known as a putting genius. His book, Unconscious Putting, has gotten 4.5 stars out of 5 on Amazon.com, and it's a must-read for every golfer. Plus, like you've heard me talking about here over the last several weeks, he's got a new book out called Own Your Game to help us all with the mental side of golf, and I am both honored and thrilled to have him back next on the tee with me this morning. Good morning, Mr. Stockton. Thank you for joining me on the show again.
Thanks, Chris. Good to be with you.
So, Mr. Stockton, I want to talk about, your new book. I've been plugging it here on the show for the last several weeks, Own Your Game. It's fantastic. And for all of us that are sort of, east of the Mississippi, if you will, in the Midwest and on the East Coast, or either, continue to be snowed in or snowed under or dealing with cold temperatures, we still haven't been able to get out and try to, shake the rust off our golf swings. And if you can't do that, the best way to start the golf season off can be by helping us all sharpen our minds. Talk about your book and some of the concepts you talk about in there.
Well, sure, Chris. I've always felt that the mental part of the game is the very most important part that you could master or try to. For instance, I think Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, I didn't think I'd ever see anybody as good as Jack, and obviously Tiger is a great player. And I think their similarities are mental. I don't think their swings are compatible. I don't think their putting styles are compatible. But their mind and how they approach the game is what I was fascinated by, and I'm still in awe of how good they were. My progression of books, the first book on putting was what I was known for, and then, of course, I went from that to Unconscious Scoring, which, to me, I was surprised, because when somebody would come to try to get help with their putting, I'd inevitably work with them on the short game because there's a lot of correlations. And then this third book, Own Your Game, came about because that was my love of explaining to people, and some of the people don't quite get this book because they're into trying to find mechanical answers for why they're not good putters or chippers or why their game just suffers. And I guess the simplest way to start this would be to ask you, if I was going to correct your putting for you and I wanted you to send me a video so that I could look at it and then I could critique it and tell you what you need to work on, what would you send me? And I ask that to every student. And they start talking about the stroke and so forth and so far and going on that direction. And I basically, what I want to see is I want to see your routine. Do you have one? And usually the ones you have, in other words, I can tell when you're walking into a ball whether you're going to make it or not, just by how fast you've walked, what side of the holes you've looked at the putt on. It's just a matter of picturing in your mind that you're going to see it go in the hole, not your mechanical stroke. And so you're mentioning to people right now, and I know you've been hit hard in the Northeast and everything with the weird weather, but now is the time to make sure that you're mentally prepared to have a better golf game this coming year than you did last year.
So, Mr. Stockton, did you always have some of the philosophies that you carry over into your series or books, or is it something like kind of looking back over the course of your career and playing against guys? You mentioned Mr. Nicklaus, for 40 years. Did you learn what it took to compete against guys like him and Tiger in his prime?
My game evolved because I was not a long hitter. I obviously had to scramble a lot. I had a bad back injury at 15, which actually led me into golf because I couldn't do contact sports. But I just mastered my own game. I never gave up. I was a good fighter. I mean, because of my back, almost all my wins, I think out of the 25 wins, I think 20 of them have been either in July or August when it got warm and my back would loosen up and I would feel good, and no matter whether it was a major or not, those are the time of year that I'd play well. But basically what I guess I'll answer your question by another question to you. Can you tell me anything since the early 40s that has been developed in the golf stroke as far as putting, that's something new that we could learn? And you're not going to be able to answer anything because agronomy's gotten better, putters have gotten better, the ball's better, our thought processes have gotten better, but there's been no new stroke or anything. So basically, the stroke that I was taught in the 40s is basically I never had to change. And yet most golfers are looking at the instant fix, try to figure out what they need to do. Do they need to have, and it just doesn't make sense. And that's why if they delve in the book, and what I go into is try to explain what you're thinking and why trying doesn't work, which is a whole new issue. And that's the first thing we do. If I'm going to teach you putting, I'm going to have you try to sign your signature. And it'll take you a second and a half. And then right below it, I want you to take about 10 seconds or more, and I want you to try to duplicate your own signature, but slowly, and I want you to try. You got no chance. And what that's about is that in your subconscious, you can do your signature fine, but as soon as you try to do something that should be in your subconscious, because this is important, this is the Masters, or this is whatever, your club championship, or to break 100 the first time, your routine will change. It probably won't get faster. McIlroy's does, but most people's don't. They slow down because they get nervous, and they try real hard, and it will not be a pretty ending.
Right. And kind of to your point about, the stroke and the swing, in the book you talk about players practicing trying to make the perfect swing. And, and you mentioned, and lots of you, there is no perfect swing. And when they struggle, what they feel like they have to do is go out and just hit more balls. But you say you don't have to be perfect to get the most out of your ability. Talk about that.
No. Well, I mean, the ball's, especially in putting, a ball's a little bitty ball, and it's going in a great big hole. And it should go in most of the time without much trouble. But what happens, I mean, the long game, I understand the different components, and the long game is very difficult to master, and there are certain techniques and swings that should fit your body style. But when it comes to putting, there are, Furyk's method is different in mine, Zach Johnson's is different in mine, Billy Casper's was different in mine. There's all different types, but the common denominator is you want to feel comfortable when you putt. So this is the time of year for your listeners to be attuned to what it feels like with this putter that they're using, and what is their, and I say routine. I mean, I'll start, and I want to see which side you go to, because I want you to go to the low side of the break, the direction the ball is breaking toward. You want to be on the low side, and I want to be looking at the putt. A lot of people walk up on the line and they're looking at it. I think it's better to look at it from the side, maybe 10, 12 feet off the line, because then I can see the curvature. And I'm looking for two spots. I'm looking for the spot that the ball's going to go into the hole. Maybe if it breaks right to left, maybe at 4 o'clock or something on a clock coming in. And then when I come back to the ball, the key part for me is I call it a spot putt. And I'm coming back to an inch in front of the ball, and then I just start my stroke, and I watch the ball roll that 1 inch. And why that's important is people tell me, well, I can't see my line. I can't see they're thinking I'm being precise, and I'm not. I'm not one into devices. I've just come out with one last year, which is the first one I've ever endorsed, called the Spot Putting Secret. And it's a piece of plastic, 16 inches long, and basically you have a dot where the ball sits on the black plastic. You have a white spot an inch in front of it, and so when you set it on the ground and you look at the hole and you come back, this spot is not for alignment. This spot is simply to have an area that you want to roll the ball over. That's what I'm saying. I'm not looking at an exact line, and because if you think about it, Chris, most people, when they stroke, as soon as the putter touches the ball, the stroke's over. They recoil, or in most cases, they come up much faster than they have to. And what I want to do is I want to take my left hand, back of my left hand, which is my direction hand, and go that inch. If I go through that ball, if I show no reaction, my putter shows no reaction to touching the ball for an inch, I'm going to put a perfect stroke on it every time. It'd be like shooting a basketball, and I remember Shaquille O'Neal, when he shoot free throws, he'd be lucky to hit the backboard half the time, and as soon as he released it, his hand stopped. Well, the ball goes everywhere, and that's what I see in putting. I mean, I just want to go through. If I go through the ball, basically I'm going to put a good roll on it. So there's two words that we don't use. The first one, when you find out in your signature, is you can't try. I don't want you to try. I want you to develop feel. The second word is I do not want you to try and hit the ball. I want you to feel the roll. So I get a much softer feel. I roll the ball. I control the speed. I control the distance. And that, of course, questions keep getting answered. But you ask people what's the most important, the right line or the right speed? And everybody that thinks, the right line because that's going to put it in the hole. The right speed is what you're after because when you're looking from the side, you're visualizing a ball that's going to get to the hole every time but not go more than 16 or 17 inches past. That's plenty. And so consequently, then you see on the curvature where this ball is going to go into the hole. And so you're all of a sudden you're starting to develop a picture without even rolling any putts.
That's great stuff. Mr. Stockton, you also write in the book that many tour players will spend 90% of their time working on physical mechanics, and that's what we're talking about here, physical mechanics of the swing, when actually handling emotions, making decisions, playing through adversity, and to your point, following a routine is really what makes up 90% of their results. Do you think that's where, us, we amateurs, and even maybe Tiger to this point, have it backwards right now?
Absolutely. I mean, to me, it was fun working with McIlroy. And the first thing when he blew the Masters, and we met 2 weeks later at Charlotte, and we had a discussion, and he'd asked me what I saw at the Masters, and I told him what I saw is I thought he had a terrible pairing, and he kind of looked at me quizzically, and I said, well, you got pair with Cabrera, who's the world's nicest guy, and he plays just as fast as you, and I watched two guys that had terrible speed because you stood around. They're the last in the field, so they're going to be slowed down all the time. But they hit the balls real fast, walk real fast, and then have to stand there and wait again. There was no consistency. Well, 2.5 months later, he leads the U.S. Open by 4 or 5 shots going the last round of Congressional, where I won my second PGA. And he gets to the 10th green, and he hits a 7-iron 200 yards, about 5 inches, taps it in, waits for the other guy to putt out, and starts to head to the 11th tee, and then takes his putter and turns around and comes back up on the 10th green, and just one-handed, just practicing, making little strokes, no balls in the ball, but just making a stroke, looking around over 18 green. And he spent like almost 10 minutes till his caddy, JP, called him, and he walked down to the 11th tee. And I thought to myself, he's learned his lesson because the 11 is a terribly hard driving hole. And rather than standing there for 10 or 12 minutes getting nervous, he just let his mind wander and think about other things. And when it was time to hit, he went down there, saw the shot, and hit it. And so people, that's what I'm saying. There's so many things, rather than making sure your swing is absolutely perfect, is getting a hold of your emotions and understanding why you didn't win the last tournament or why you three-putted, all these different things. And more times than not, it's going to be something in your routine and something mental, not necessarily something physical. Because if it is physical, you can fix it.
And speaking, you used the phrase, he saw the shot and hit it. We've had Dave Jr. on the show a couple of times, and Dave's always fantastic. But one of the things he talks about in putting, from a philosophy that you guys have, is not spending a lot of time over it. I guess it kind of lets our minds, get in our own way. It's, kind of, looking at the line, to your point, picking out the line, getting over the ball, and then letting it go, and not spending, multiple seconds or minutes standing over the putt, which a lot of us do, and then I guess we sort of psych ourselves out of it, and then we mess up the stroke. Is that something that you see that amateurs do, and then to your point, you see some of the guys out on tour doing as well?
Very definitely. When I won Congressional, unlike Rory, who won it by 8 shots, I had to make a 15-footer to avoid a 3-man playoff, and it's been timed, and I marked the ball. From the time I marked it to the time I stroked it was 14 seconds.
Wow.
And because I'd lined it up from the side while the other fellow was putting, and then I walked behind it. When I marked it and stepped behind it, I knew it was a right-center putt, and I just walked up and let it go. There's nothing. It's your first signature. That's what we're after. We're after your first signature. Right. And, again, it starts by how you read the putt. It starts, to me, by how your routine is. And that's why Rory's so good. I mean, Rory doesn't take practice strokes. Rory basically gawks up. His only fault occasionally is he's too fast. He has two hiccups. He'll be too fast, and sometimes his putter comes up going through a little bit. But other than that, there's nothing wrong. So that's why he's a really good putter and gotten better and better. I mean, first time I saw him, I was amazed that he wasn't considered to be one of the best putters around because it was there. He just hadn't put the speed at which he walked into the putt consistent with what the stroke he was going to make. So, yeah, I mean, all your listeners, it's a visualization thing to me, and you can never it's pretty hard to be too fast, especially if they get nervous. Most people will slow down. I mean, they might walk quicker, but their decision process gets all muddled because they just, they know what they have to do. They know the enormity of the situation, and a lot of times they don't handle it well. And it's not what people think. I mean, if you hit a long game and you hit it you drive it left, let's say, and you got trees in your way, it's kind of an easy shot because the trees dictate and tell you what kind of shot to hit. But if you hit a perfect drive right in the middle of the fairway, generally that's the one you'll mess up because you're so proud of this tee shot you just hit that you don't really think about I better leave this just below the hole to the right of it. If it doesn't go in, that's where I want to leave it. It's like, boy, what a great drive that was. I'm going to knock this up here and make birdie, and you don't quite complete your thought process. It's not that you need to take more time. It's just that you didn't think it out. And that's what I see people in putting. It's like they make it a lot harder than it has to be. And Junior's correct. I mean, the speed to us is everything. I mean, once I see it and I start walking into it, I'm not looking for the perfect line. I start on my initial read. I can see I'm 4 steps or 5 steps behind the ball. I see the entire line. As I walk closer, my focus focuses closer to the hole, and maybe on a 12-foot putt, as I get to the ball and I put the putter down, and then I start to look at the hole to set my feet, I'm looking at about a 4-inch putt. Seeing it come in, let's say, at 3 o'clock, so it's a big break. It's going to break 1.5 feet from right to left. Okay, I'm seeing this break come in at 3 o'clock. I set my feet, and then I come back, and I'm coming back to this spot right in front of the ball, and then I start my stroke and roll it right over it.
That's perfect. Mr. Stockton, let's talk a little bit about, more about the mental side of the game. One of the things that I enjoyed in the book is you tell the story about the 1961 NCAA tournament when your fifth man had Jack Nicklaus down, 2 down on the 5th hole, and Jack told his coach to come pick him up on the 14th green because the match was going to be over by then. Do you mind sharing that story?
Yeah, that was interesting. And that alludes to the mental strength of Jack. He did. I mean, we were playing back there, and we had a good team. We ended up finishing 3rd, but our 5th man had him in the match play. I mean, had him down. And when I heard that, my first thought was, well, do you think our guy's going to beat him by that time? And Jack just knows he's going to turn this thing around and do it. I mean, Jack Nicklaus you'd go to any major and they'd ask him, and I don't know how in the heck he would do this, whether it was an Open or a PGA or whatever, or the Masters, they'd ask him the winning score, and he'd say, -4, it's going to be -8, it's going to be -2. He knew every time. Even if the weather changed or something, I never could figure this out. I mean, this is how
really?
Far ahead of, it was absolutely unbelievable. And so, I mean, how about Tiger, which is the greatest thing I've ever heard, is make 40 straight cuts in a row. And I remember when he'd have a 74 or 5 in the first round. So you'd have to shoot 66 or 67. You're, here goes the streak. No problem. He shot it. I mean, they can raise their game. Are they raising it to a physical level? No. They're mentally realizing what they have to do. They've made it easier or hard on themselves, depending on the situation, and they just handle it. Most of us go out there hoping to have a good day and not really having the plan or the mental wherewithal to succeed. And that's why what you're talking about, and my book about Own Your Game, like I said, it went over a lot of people's heads because they want these golf tips. Oh my gosh, how long do you think golf tips last? mean, if you can remember your last one you had a month ago, good luck to you, because most people, they never are satisfied, which is the thing that confuses me with Tiger, is that if I've won 80 times on tour, which is only one other person beside Tiger, which is Sam Snead, had won that many, but, oh my gosh, I got to believe I could do it. It wasn't his swing that won at Torrey Pines and beat Rocco Mediate. In the U.S. Open, he's playing on a broken leg and he still wins. It is mental, and that's why people would behoove themselves to understand. Have a good psychologist. Talk to a psychologist and clear out your thinking and get yourself thinking right. Because again, that to me is the easiest. If you have the world's greatest golf game, and I'm not going to name names, but there's people who've been on tour that they just aren't golf smart. They have the world's greatest swing, but they don't put it together because they don't understand the mental component. Whether their attitude's not good, they don't have good self-talk, or they get mad. It's just it made it easy for me. I mean, one of my favorite tournaments was playing Pebble Beach in the AT&T, or the Bing Crosby in the old days, because I knew, and I hoped for bad weather, because I knew I had 1/3 of the field beat without even trying, because they'd say, well, why do I want to be out here? Why this, why that? And I'm going, this is great. It's whether the glass is half full or half empty, depending how you look at it. And I guarantee you, Tigers and Jack Nicklaus is always half full.
Speaking of which, Mr. Nicklaus used to say about winning tournaments. You talk about eliminating 1/3 of the field. He used to say that only a handful of guys thought they were capable of winning a major, so you can eliminate most of the field before the tournament even starts. And then on Sunday, most of the other guys are going to choke, and I'm not. You won several majors out there. Is that philosophy, right?
Absolutely. My first major, where I was fortunate enough to beat Palmer at Southern Hills, and Jack was playing, obviously, but Southern Hills in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1970. I'd finished reading Psycho-Cybernetics, Maxwell Maltz's book, and I took two things, and it was a hard book to read, and my dad wanted me to read it, and I finally finished it, and I took two things out of it. One, you had to be aggressive, and two, you had to picture yourself. Anything you want to achieve, you have to picture yourself as you've already done it. And I'm out there at Southern Hills on Monday, and 18 at Southern Hills is a big amphitheater, and I'm playing by myself early in the morning on Monday, first practice round, and I come up to 18, and I'm looking at this big amphitheater, and I'm picturing the 40,000 people or so that are going to be sitting there on Sunday when I come in to win the PGA. And this is the first week I ever tried that, and I'll be darned if I didn't win it. And it was just the power of positive thinking and the belief that you're going to, I'd already pictured myself winning the tournament, and so I just went through the motions that week toward that goal. And it worked. And not to say it's going to work every time, but it certainly took a lot of pressure off me, because when I came down to it was like I was living the dream that I already had.
And just to add complexity to that, right? You finished that tournament 1 under par, and you won the tournament by 2 strokes over Bob Murphy and Arnold Palmer, who you were paired with in the final round. And Arnold had never won the PGA. So were you aware of that? Were you aware that, hey, I'm playing with Arnold Palmer. This is the only major he hasn't won. Or did you tune all of that stuff out?
No, I enjoyed that. No. That week I shot 66 in the second round. In the Tulsa newspapers on Saturday morning were unknown leads to the PGA, which ticked me off royally, because I'd won 4 times, twice in 67 and twice in 68. Had not won in 69, but a 4-time tour winner. I may not be known, but I sure didn't think I was an unknown. But going the last round with a 3-shot lead on Palmer, I had the hard part of Kathy was going to would inevitably have Ronnie 30 days later, so she's right at 8 months pregnant, sitting in the clubhouse, listening to everybody root for Palmer, because if Palmer wins this, he wins the Grand Slam. It's the only one he ever missed. And so I go out to play with him, and it was, it would make my life if I could win it. It would be fantastic, and Arnold deserved, obviously, to win the Grand Slam. He probably should have beaten Boris in '68 at Southern in San Antonio, rather than picking on me in Tulsa. But Yeah, I was completely aware of it. I remember I three-putted the fifth green, and a guy in the gallery yelled, "You got him now, Arnold," because my lead was 4 and now it was 3. And I made a birdie 2 on 6, birdie an eagle 2. I sank a wedge on 7, and the hard 8, the par 3, I double bogeyed. I drove in the bunker on 9, and I hit it a foot from the pin out of the bunker and birdied it. So I went birdie, eagle, double bogey, birdie, and I had a 7-shot lead with 9 holes to go. And I just, all I tried to do is play the backside as fast as I could play it. I was looking forward to getting the trophy. So, yeah, it was an interesting thing. But again, all my successes generally go back to something that I mentally did that week. It was never a swing change or something that created, my winning situation. It was always something mentally that I got better or I'd learned from the previous week or whatever. And that's why I believe in it so strongly.
A few more before we let you go, Mr. Stockton. I'm curious to get, your idea, a couple of thoughts on the Ryder Cup. You were a part of several, victorious Ryder Cup teams, both as a player and as a captain, assistant captain. When you look at the process that the new task force went through and the committee they have set up for future Ryder Cup teams, have they gotten it right, or is it more to do about nothing?
It is definitely not to do about nothing. Mickelson said the right thing at the wrong time, and I'm glad he said it. It wasn't meant to disparage Tom Watson in the slightest, but basically, it was completely needed because none of us know how they picked the PGA champions, the Ryder Cup captains, because basically prior to 91, only 2 guys have been the captain that had not won a PGA, and those one happens to be Palmer, and the other happened to be Billy Casper. Right. And so you knew if you won a PGA. In fact, when I won my second at Congressional, my first thought in my mind is I'm going to get to be a PGA, a Ryder Cup captain because of this. Well, you never knew how they selected them, and every 2 years, whoever the executive committee of the PGA of America would pick their next Ryder Cup captain, 1.5 years, 2 years out, and there was no continuity. At Kiowa, for instance, I only got 2 captains picks. I only had 2 assistants. So I picked Ronnie and David in 1991. Well, meanwhile, the European Tour, when Jack and others got this together where we're going to play against Europe instead of just Great Britain and Ireland, they had a formula together where all the past captains and the future ones in line would be on the selection committee of who picked. And so you can see the camaraderie between the Europeans, which is unusual because they come from all different countries, and then you'd see the difference in the American side. Every Ryder Cup captain we have, I promise you, is the biggest honor to be able to represent your country. The PGA asks you to be the captain. Well, what Mickelson alluded to was the fact that Azinger in 2008 put this pod system together, and he absolutely thrashed Faldo and the Europeans. I mean, it wasn't even close. He did a brilliant job, and that's what Phil was alluding to. And when you look back at the Ryder Cups, when I was a captain in 91, I was not asked anything until 2004 about future captains or anything like that. Azinger, who's the captain in 2008, never got asked anything, period. And yet I think he was the most successful captain ever. So what the task force was developed, if you look at it, it's got 2 for sure captains in Mickelson and Woods, and it had Stricker and Furyk, who are 2 really good. If you're going to pick somebody who was not a PGA champion, they've got really good credentials to be a Ryder Cup captain. And then you take the guys that have been the captain, Davis Love, Raymond Floyd, Pavin's on there. I know Azinger was talked to. Okay, then 3 PGA officers. And what you have is the minority of the PGA and the majority of the players future captains and past captains, so you have a legacy going down. And so basically they've already picked, when they picked Davis Love, his first assistant is a former captain, because he has Tom Lehman, because it's going to be at Hazeltine next year. You can see the continuity that's going to develop, and that's what we need. I mean, if anybody out there, you're in Atlanta, you tell me, if anybody can tell me why in the hell they didn't pick Larry Nelson to be a captain.
Right.
Makes absolutely no sense. And nobody can tell us why he was overlooked. Because the first time any of us were asked, and that was in 2004, we were at Sutton's Ryder Cup up in Detroit. And we were asked, who should they pick? And they gave us 5 names for the next captain. And this was the captaincy that Payne Stewart would have been the captain. And so the 5 names were given to us, and the only Ryder Cup member among them was Azinger. And to a man, the 8 of us that were there, the 8 former captains, we said, well, you need a 6th. And we all nominated Larry Nelson to be thrown in. So just please consider Larry Nelson along with the other 5. And they ended up picking Tom Lehman, who did a great job and is a great captain. But, I mean, to me, it's confusing. Nobody could answer that question. Well, I think now with this task force, and I've given you a long answer because I'm very passionate about this, you know, everybody says, well, they should play better. It's not about the captain. And, you know, you tell me that John Wooden wasn't a great basketball coach, or Dean Smith, or, you know, any of Paul, you know, any of the ones, Lombardi, any of the great coaches, they make a difference on your players. You can screw them up easier than you can help them, but you give them an atmosphere and then they've got to go out and win, which I'm glad to see that Davis Love has this second chance, because he did basically 98% of the things right in Chicago, and we should have won at Medina. And it's so yeah, I think the task force was really, really needed much more than what people considered, because the players care about it. We're talking history here. We're talking about stuff that means a lot to the players, to watch them put up the stars and stripes. You want to go to battle. And I'm here to tell you at Hazeltine, I promise you we're going to be ready.
It's hard for me to imagine, Mr. Stockton, a player having a better year on any tour than Bernhard Langer had last year on the Champions Tour. As a prior Ryder Cup captain, would you ever consider a guy from the Champions Tour to have on your team? You might, yes. Yeah, you might very definitely. I mean, I know he was in consideration. The problem is that when the people he's playing one tour, when all the people he's going to be partnering with are playing on other tours, and you need to get together, you need to spend time. But yeah, Langer would have been an extremely good player to pick. He's been phenomenal in the longevity. He and like Hale Irwin are they're setting the standard for what between the Senior Tour, Champions Tour, what you can accomplish, and it's fascinating to watch. I was asking Dave Jr. this question a few weeks ago when he joined me, but kind of getting back to Tiger. If Tiger came to you asking for help with his game, would you help him? And the reason why I asked the question is because it seems like helping Tiger, being a coach of Tiger, can either be a blessing or it can be a curse. So I'm curious, would you help him out if he came to you?
Yeah, I did it in '96. There's no reason why I wouldn't do it now. David played with him his first tournament. He played on tour in '96 in Milwaukee, and 2 months later we were at corporate outing together. He's on one end of the range and I was on the other, and he approached me asking me some questions of shots between 50 and 100 yards. And so I told him what I thought, and next time I saw him was at the Skins game out in Palm Springs, where I was playing the Pro-Am portion of it. And he was one end of the range. I just started practicing on my end. Next thing I know, 2 minutes later, he's standing there. Mr. Stockton, watch this. You told me this, and this. And he just had it down pat. So, yeah, if he came, I definitely on the chipping, I mean, he and I have always differed on philosophy on the putting because he believes in the right hand, back of the right hand going to the hole. I believe in the left hand. But, I mean, I know exactly what's with his chipping. And I told Mark Steinberg this at San Diego this year. But I'm sure Tiger and Steinberg alluded to the fact that he had, 250 calls on people who are going to straighten Tiger out in a minute. So I threw my name in the list, but I said if I did it, I don't want to have anybody know, that I'm helping him because I'm not in it to be getting. I just, I feel bad that he's, having that portion of his game. I can't do anything about the long game because I still can't believe he's got to keep changing his swing and trying to find it. He can't just enjoy it and let it go. I mean, once a fish learns how to swim, he sure as hell doesn't sit in a stream and practice swimming. I mean, he just do it. And that's where Tiger is. Tiger doesn't need his A game to beat you because he's got the mental side of it, but he's thinking. And as far as the chipping, I think I have my own ideas, but I don't think it would take 30 minutes to fix his chipping portion of his game. And sure, I would be glad to help him, but I would not want to be the latest teacher to get thrown under the bus. I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I say part of it's a curse, right? Because you're sort of branded or you've got that cloud over you. If things don't work out, then your name is sort of semi-attached to his failure. That's why I think it's a consideration. It's not. I think it's more than, hey, Tiger wants your help. Oh, okay, great. Here I am. I'm glad to help you. It's more of a consideration like, do I want my name attached to that? Yeah,
well, I would say yes, I would, because then the onus is on him because we've had enough really good players, and we've had over 150 wins worldwide in the 4.5 years we've been teaching. So, I mean, it's, and Tiger's one of those. I don't consider any Tiger's wins. I helped him so long ago, but basically it's been unbelievable the number of people and how well and how fast they improve. The number of people that win, whether it be Adam Scott or Justin Rose or Mickelson. I mean, we work with them, and the next week they win. Rory wins 2 months later, but only 3 tournaments after he blows the Masters. So I wouldn't be so bad. And they say, well, you sure screwed up Tiger. Well, it's not that. It's just a matter of trying to get the guy comfortable, and I know what it would take to make him comfortable.
There you go. Mr. Stockton, for our listeners here on the Armed Forces Radio Network, you do a lot of work with charities, several different charities, but particularly you've got an event coming up for the Medal of Honor Golf Classic that you do every year. Tell our listeners how they can get more information and be a part of that.
Well, it's an interesting tournament. This Monday at Victoria Club in Riverside, California, we have the Stater Brothers Medal of Honor Classic, and we'll have eight this year. We've increased the numbers of Medal of Honor recipients. Some have been here for a long time. Jay Vargas, for instance, Jimmy Taylor. We have 6 from the Vietnam era, 2 Clint Romeshay and Sal Gunta, 2 from Afghanistan, Iran war. And we also have a Wounded Warrior this time. First time ever, gentleman I got to meet. He's won President Bush's Wounded Warrior Tournament in Texas the last 2 years, Chad Pfeiffer, who presently is playing on the Big Break, and I guess doing really well. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but he is fully intending to make it on tour. He's 30 years old, lost his leg, and so it's Jack Brown, who's the head of Stater Brothers, bleeds red, white, and blue. And in 2002, he invited me when the Medal of Honor recipients were having their convention here in Riverside to come over, and that's the first time I ever met these gentlemen. At that time, there were 260 or so living Medal of Honor recipients. At this point in time, there's like 81 or 2, something like that. So for us to have 8 of them here this coming Monday, in fact, they'll be here at our house. Kathy and I are hosting a party for just the recipients here tonight. And wow. We'll raise a lot of money and have a lot of fun. Gary McCord will come. Lee Trevino will be here. We have different girls off the LPGA, 4 or 5 of them. Brittany Lang will come. Morgan Pressel will be here. And we have a really big party for the people that come. You realize who true American heroes are. You opened your program thanking the military, and rightly so. I was never in the military because of my back, but since we've started doing these Medal of Honor conventions for them or different things that we can do, it gives you understand what true class and dedication is. The Medal of Honor recipients, and they're not winners. People make a mistake and say, oh, they won the Medal of Honor. You don't win the Medal of Honor, you receive it. And to a man, they're receiving it for the people that didn't make it home. They feel very embarrassed that they got this award because the ones that didn't make it back are the ones that are deserving of it. And while they're here, they go to hospitals, schools, and their values is what America's got to get back to, because it's really a special weekend for us to be around these. And what I like is watching the players that I invite come. Let's say Owen Brown came last year for the first time. Mark Wiebe came. Different people come, and I like the reaction of getting them. Their mouths will just fall open because they know they're watching history. Well, probably the truest thing, we did an outing in Dallas in Doherty. Ed Doherty was there, and he didn't realize it. And we're sitting around after and that was a convention in Dallas, and there was like 15 Medal of Honor recipients there, and he's sitting at this table, and I thought he was going to pass out because he's realizing this gentleman that's sitting there talking to him is the medevac pilot that evacuated him in Vietnam.
Wow.
And he'd never met him. And he talks about it, he says, that's right, you were in the first helicopter that crashed trying to take off, and I came in right behind it. And Doherty just sitting there, and the hair on his arms standing straight up, and he realized, he said, yeah, because he carried a guy from one end of the runway to the other to get back to where he could be picked up again after surviving the first crash.
Wow.
And there's something Ed hadn't, it's the same thing. Larry Nelson came, obviously being a veteran of the Vietnam War. Again, I have a hard time appreciating it because I wasn't there, but I certainly appreciate these people's service to the country. And so it's going to be a huge party tonight to get everybody together. And I feel like I'm doing a small part, but it's certainly, it's a special time.
Yeah, that's wonderful stuff. For our listeners who want to get out to the event, how can they find out more information about the event on Monday and, like I say, come out and partake?
Well, they can't. Now, this is a really weird thing because Stater Brothers, in what I did with Jack Brown, this is modeled after the Reynolds tournament. We used to play in the Pinehurst area there in North Carolina. We would do the RJR tournament, and they would just invite their sponsors. Well, here's Stater Brothers Markets, and you picture Pepsi and Coke fighting to get who's the primary sponsor, or Anheuser-Busch versus Coors or whoever. So This is a tournament that I don't have to invite anybody. There'll be no gallery. This is just for the people and we've got more than we've ever had. We've got 140 participants this year, and it's all sold out. And it's a giant party for all the vendors of Stater Brothers.
Wow.
And it is. It's not like something else where you're telling people to come out and see these people.
Right.
The people get a chance to see the Medal of Honor when they speak at the Foreign Legion or they go to schools and stuff like that on the side, which is well announced around here in the Inland Empire. But as far as the tournament, no, they can't even get out to get in there.
All right.
So it's just, but the tour will be there. Tour will be taping part of it. There'll be segments coming from it because you've got Dennis Haysbert, the actor from the Allstate ads. He'll be out there, and he does a bunch of stuff for the military, and so it's and you'll be seeing it on Golf Channel. You'll be seeing it on a lot of the stuff that they'll show, but it's not for the public. It's kind of like these guys, and I think that's why they enjoy it. They get out. Like tonight, there'll be no newspapers or anybody here to cover it. We're not doing it for that reason. It's just to celebrate their life, which I promise you they don't really care for. They don't like the attention. But like Jay Vargas says, and so does Barney Barnum, who comes here. He'll be here. He's flying today from Washington, D.C. to get here. They get goosebumps when they put this Medal of Honor in the blue ribbon, and the Medal of Honor hangs around their neck. And they don't want the publicity, but they want the values of what the Medal of Honor stands for the public to be aware of that, and that's exactly what we need more of.
Yeah, agreed. That's fantastic. Mr. Stockton, for our listeners that want to follow you and Stockton Golf, tell them how they can follow you both online and you guys over social media.
Well, yeah, if you need to get a hold of me, it's Dave@StocktonGolf.com, or you can get it at www.stocktongolf.com. I am out and about, still teaching quite a bit, trying to cut back a little bit, turning more of the PGA Tour off to junior. But as I say, we do this tournament Monday. I'll be on my way on Tuesday morning to get to Palmer's tournament in Orlando, and be out there following Rory and some of the guys on Wednesday. And I'm shooting a deal with Superstroke on Thursday morning, and then the Four Seasons will be there in the afternoon, and then have some back at the tournament for morning drive on next Friday, and then flying home on Saturday. Just a simple little quick shot here and there. Not playing much. I'm going to play with the Legends Division at Houston this year, and Junior and I will be at the Masters coming up, and so I'm living the dream. My wife thinks I'm nuts because I'm traveling just as much as I did when I played on the. We thought it was going to be the tour, and then I'd just do corporate outings and stuff afterwards, and then the senior tour came, and we got even more successful on that. And now the chapter in my life that I'm in now, I feel so good about, because like doing these books, I really feel, and I know I've made gigantic changes to so many people's lives. So is David, and so is Ronnie. That it's just it's. I know my dad's looking down thinking I finally got it right, because when you're a player, you have to be a successful player and winning majors. You have to be really all about yourself. You have to be greedy because it's all about you. And now to be able to turn back the clock to what my dad taught me, things that I learned in the 40s that have never gone out of style, that people just they think this game is more complicated than it really is. And that's why, Chris, your initial reaction to, okay, we're all snowed in and stuff, let's work on the mental part of it. You're just so right on that if somebody will stop and think about this and realize that they're going to be a better mental player, well, I'll make it simple. If you're an 18 handicap, I want you to go out the next time and picture that you're a 14. Now, I don't know how a 14 thinks any different than an 18, but except they're going to shoot 4 shots lower. You'd be surprised just by lowering, making your expectations that, okay, I'm really a 14 just because I've listened to this interview with Dave Stockton, or I've read this book, or I've watched whatever. I'm gonna pretend I'm a 14. You're lowering your comfort zone, and that's what it's all about. I mean, those of us that play on tour, our comfort zones are 66 or 5 or whatever, as low as we can go. J.B. Holmes at Doral shooting a 62 in the first round. Well, nobody thought that was going to be happening.
Right.
Of course, that's tough. But that's what you have to do. And your listeners out there, it can be done, but it's easier to attack it from the mental side of it than it is the physical side of it.
Before I let you go, when we talk about have-tos and expectations, let me say this. One of the things that has to happen is you have to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. It doesn't make any sense to me how a man or a woman, for that matter, how anybody of your stature and the things that you accomplished with the majors that you won, with the amount of tournaments that you won, and when I look at some of your peers, the David Grahams of the world, Freddie Couples last year, those guys get in. If that phone call doesn't come this year for you, something's wrong with the process.
Well, you sound like my kids. I don't know. I've been a strange case, because when you turn 40, you get eligible to be in the Hall of Fame, and of the 10 categories or whatever you have to do, majors, number of wins, and all this stuff. I am in every one of the categories, but my problem is that most of the winners, the people that get picked to be in the Hall of Fame, have somewhere between 16 or more wins. And if I blew my own horn, I'd say, it's my own fault that I only won, 10 times on the regular tour, 11, and they took one away from me. But because I did all the corporate outings, and you alluded to it at the top of the show, saying, about, I wish they could, those people that I played in pro-ams that I've influenced over the years could have a vote. Yeah, I probably would be in. So then they don't necessarily count the Champions Tour stuff, but that was great. But I think I'm probably more deserving just because of the people I've helped now from a teaching point of view.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, it's not going to be, it's not going to be the end all. Sure, I would love to do it, but the Hall of Fame gets it right. There's no question. It's just, they've changed the criteria and how they get in and stuff. But, I never understood why we go years and years and not at least have some of the older guys, the Charlie Siffords or people that needed to get in, actually when they were alive that made sense. So I don't ever talk about it. Mainly because I don't consider myself to be on a par with Nicklaus and Watson and, Trevino or Palmer or anything like that, Casper or right on down the line. But, and it should be an exclusive club, no two ways about it. So if I get it, fine. If I don't, I'm not worrying about it at all. I'm just very fortunate. I mean, that's like this tournament coming up. This will mean a whole lot to me because, again, I'm helping people. I'm affecting people. And that's what these Medal of Honor recipients, how they feel, is they have dedicated their life because they received this award to helping others and having other people explain. Well, I think I'm making the game easier for other people. And if some people think that's another attribute to it, Chi-Chi didn't win that many tournaments, and he deservedly should be in the Hall just by how he treated the public and what the feelings were that he went forth. I mean, if I had to put somebody in the Hall right now, I'm ready to put McIlroy in, even his 3-iron throw at Doral. But here's a kid that's got it all right with with how he treats the people and how he respects the game. And we're looking at a truly great one coming up. There's no question about it. He's not trying to manufacture himself to become one. He's just got all the components. And so I appreciate you mentioning it, but we won't lose any sleep over it.
All right. Well, we're in your corner. We're going to be beating that drum until that day comes, and we get to see you in St. Augustine up there on the podium. Mr. Stockton, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to join me here. It's always such a huge thrill for me to have the privilege to talk with you. I hope you'll come back again sometime and be a part of the show because you are always not only so entertaining, you teach us something, and you're such a wonderful person to talk with.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Have a nice weekend, okay?
All right, good luck to you and all the Medal of Honor folks at your house and at the Classic on Monday. Best to you and Dave Jr. and your family, and I hope we get to catch up with you real soon.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chris. Bye.
All right, take care, Mr. Stockton. Mr. Dave Stockton, there isn't a classier person in any sport than Mr. Stockton, so my huge thanks for him for being such a part of the show today. And remind you, the name of the book is Own Your Game. He's got the series of books that he talked about. You can, own your own game. Like he said to us during the course of the show, that book helps us think better, stay calmer, execute more consistently, and more importantly, how to enjoy the game more thoroughly. And you can get more information about all of his stuff, everything he's got going on, plus his series of books by going to StocktonGolf.com. And let me tell you, for a couple extra bucks, he'll even autograph the book for you, which is fantastic. I've got mine sitting right here next to me. All right, everybody, it's time for me to put a bow on this week's show. My sincere thanks one more time to Mr. Stockton for being such a great guest with me this morning. And as always, I thank you for being so great and tuning in. We appreciate you the very most. Please also check out our sister show on the football side called Thursday Night Tailgate with me, my co-host, Mr. Bob Lazzari, and our announcer, Joe Lajanusa. That show airs live every Thursday from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find it on Blog Talk Radio. It starts at 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time on Armed Forces Radio. And then on Friday nights, you can hear it rebroadcast from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. If you miss us on Thursdays, you can find it on Boost Radio, and then again, starting again at 11 o'clock Eastern Time on Armed Forces Radio. So we are joined every week by the legends from both the NFL and the CFL. Please check us out, both shows out on Facebook. Give us a like. That's very important to us, too. And you can find us online. You can stream or download any of our archive episodes for free and keep up to date with who some of our future guests are going to be by going to nextonthet.net or ThursdayNightTailgate.com. Thanks again, folks, for getting up with me this morning and making the choice to listen to the show. I appreciate you very much. Until next week, hit 'em straight, my friends.